So we have the tendency to create resistance and maybe even conflict arguments with other people when we see our old selves manifesting in them. Any part of yourself is also existing in the other person. For example, anger, we all got anger, we all got sadness, we all got happiness, we all got these parts, we all got boldness, courage, weakness, cowardice. There are people who maybe they think they've outgrown anger, but they're still frustrated or angry when they see anger in other people. They're like, why is this? But you don't notice that you're still angry here, right? So this is kind of like a reverse projection or shadow projection, something like that, right? And I'm helping you here to become aware of all these patterns. So we're gonna go through a few examples together. There are also parts of the self. There are parts of the self that can be like intrinsic, right? Anger can be core to humans, okay? It could be a natural reaction to disrespect, for example. It can become a blockage, an emotional blockage, a trigger. If it's in excess and is disproportionate to the situation, I scratch my head, you just explode. So that's some kind of a trauma response. So this is what we're talking about here. We're not talking about normal anger. But I would like to remind you guys that anger, sadness, grief, fear, it's core to the human condition, pretty much, okay? These are emotions that can save you. Okay, anxiety or fear can alert us to danger sometimes. We need to exit a dangerous situation, life-threatening situation. And if it wasn't for fear, then yeah, you wouldn't be saved. So the second big idea here is that we tend to forgive ourselves when that part is expressed through us. But we are less forgiving and more judgmental, more resisting when we see that part being expressed through somebody else. So the example here is like romantic relationships, right? If your friend is single and you're not single, you start to create this resistance around your friend, maybe even hanging out with your friend. Maybe the resistance will get to the point where if you have some negativity, pessimism schemas, you could get to the point where you cut out the friend and you disregard all of their positive traits. They could be like an amazing friend for years or decades, and then you cut them out just because you think that now you're like, Jesus Christ, you're like, you have a girlfriend now, you know what I mean? And they're still at the bar, like picking up girls and stuff like that. So when you get broken up with, or you break up with your partner, now you're back to being single, you don't even remember that you cut off your friend or you were judging your friend, okay, in that way. These things happen because the ego wants to solidify the identity, the personality, okay, just to keep it intact, so that you need to feel, the ego needs to feel like it's doing something right all the time. So again, just a reminder here, it's very important to remember, and I'm saying this over and over again, sorry about the repetition, but it's important to understand that these patterns are not in every single person. But I am addressing the people who do have this pattern. Not everybody has it, but it is quite destructive. So you find yourself, let's say you discovered self-development, and now you're doing some yoga classes, you're meditating all the time, you're doing therapy, all this stuff, and then you look at your friends who are not doing any of that. They could be very good friends actually, but they have some patterns that maybe they just don't want to fix. Okay. And then you get to the point where you create this self-help identity kind of person, self-help person kind of identity, and now you're cutting off friends left and right, and you think that you're better than the other person. Okay. If you do have this negativity problem, you start to create judgments around people around you who don't have the same lifestyle, maybe. Or when it comes to triggers, a good example is maybe you were depressed in the past, now you're not depressed, you're feeling amazing. If you have a friend who gets depressed, then if you have some kind of emotionally avoidant kind of background in childhood or triggers or stuff like that, then you will start to project a lot of negative stuff on your friend, and you cut them out. And now you're like, oh, my friend is negative all the time. But you don't connect the dots that in the past you were depressed, and maybe in the future you will be depressed again, you see. Same goes for anger. Same goes for, again, I haven't finished this example, but it's like you're single, and then you're judging people. When you have a partner, you're judging friends that are single or people that are single, maybe. But then when you are single, you forget that you are even doing those judgments, and then you're more forgiving for yourself. So the main idea here, the second main idea is that, again, I would like to repeat the idea. We tend to be more forgiving of ourselves, and in a delusional way. Many times we don't even remember that we were like super harsh, resisting, and judgmental with people who didn't outgrow that same lifestyle we had in the past when we were younger, or the trigger, the anger issues, the depression, or whatever it is. But we are like very forgiving with ourselves. Okay. I wouldn't say forgiving, but more like understanding. People are not really that forgiving with themselves either. Most people tend to have very negative self-talk in the majority. But for sure, more understanding, not extremely harsh to the point where you just want to off yourself, like you want to cut yourself out from yourself, quote unquote. You want to not be friends with yourself anymore. You would still wake up as you, the depressed, the angry, the sad you, the grieving you, and then you would still go to work, and you would still take care of yourself and shower and do this, that, the other. Isn't this understanding of the self? It is. Okay. So yeah, so that's the second main idea. Again, now, how do we fix all of this, right? The first main idea was wait 1 second. We often judge what we think we've outgrown in ourselves when we see it in other people, okay? That's the first one. The second one is, and when we judge what we've outgrown, when we judge in others what we've outgrown in ourselves, that creates more conflict. It creates more arguments for no reason. It creates more hatred, okay? So let me go through some positive principles here to tackle this problem, and then I'm going to give you some journaling prompts, some journaling exercise that'll help you fix this problem, okay? So the first thing that you need to practice when you catch yourself judging other people, okay, is sit with yourself and write. These are very subtle things usually, like these are very subtle things. So how do you catch yourself even judging, or how do you know? Well, just try as best as you can. At the end of each day, ask yourself, did I get annoyed by somebody today? Did I get annoyed by a friend? Did I get annoyed by my romantic partner? What made me annoyed by them? Of course, And if you watch my previous videos, you would understand that your partner could be in the wrong, doing something very dysfunctional that is worth you setting a boundary, getting angry, etc. But here, you get the point. We're not talking about that. The partner is not doing anything wrong. Your friend is not doing anything wrong. Let's say they're just expressing some kind of a trauma response. Also, provided that they're working on it, they're honest with it, they're honest about it, and they have many other positive qualities to compensate for it. Okay? They're not a narcissist psychopath. That's a completely different story. Watch my previous videos if you want to, talk about that or understand that more. Now here, the situation is they have a trigger, but it's not like super crazy trigger like threatening or stuff like that, you know. So not extremely abusive physically in any way. Just a trigger. They're honest about it. They're working on it. Okay, so we got that out the way. So in this case, I'm even talking about normal anger, because there are people who would leave relationships and friendships just because they have this very big expectation. And I had it too when I was younger, when like, oh, if I have one single fight with somebody, it means this is not the friend for me and I need to cut them out. Okay, which is quite childish. Because when you look into yourself, you also have anger. And you will continue to have anger until the day you die. Healing is not going to make you perfect. It's just going to help you manage your stuff. That's it. Are you sad? You do experience sadness, right? Like everybody else. You do experience depression. You will have it in the future also. Weakness. You're going to be weak and needing help and support at some point. Many times. Sorry about that. Okay, guys. So the first thing to remember, the first principle is that, so you could journal this, right? At the end of each day, ask yourself, how do you catch this stuff? Ask yourself, what made me annoyed by the other person? Of course, you could differentiate between their extreme dysfunctional behavior and then just normal behavior. Normal anger, normal sadness, or something that can be mildly dysfunctional, but they're very honest about it, they're working on it, and that's good enough. What else do you need, man? Okay, most people are unaware, unconscious, they're not working on anything, they're not honest about anything, they're not trying to improve anything. So if you find somebody who wants to improve, they're honest, and you still leave them, I'm sorry, but you're dumb. Okay? Because nobody is perfect. Now, super serious about this stuff. Yeah, so because I did have people who cut me out of their life, even when I was like working on my triggers, being honest about them, healing, trying my best, and improving, and still, because they have some kind of avoidant tendencies, they still left, or some narcissistic tendencies, which is fine anyways. We don't need those people in our lives, right? All right. Catch the shadows being projected and being resisted by you. How? At the end of each day, ask yourself, what frustrated me today about friends, partners, family? Write it down. And then ask yourself, do I have this part too? Do I get angry? Okay, you got frustrated because your dad or your mom or your grandmother, partner, got angry at you. And maybe they're wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. But they just, misunderstandings happen. And you have this very extreme hatred towards their anger, and you want to cut them off or one up on them or like take revenge or whatever. You're still angry. You just can't find yourself into forgiveness. Well, You can very easily forgive the other person and move on if you realize and understand that. Ask yourself, have you ever experienced or expressed anger, even with the given person, with this same person in question? Did you ever experience sadness? Did you ever need support? Did you ever experience negative emotions? This is a very big one. We tend to delude ourselves that, like we never experience misunderstandings. Did you ever get angry at someone for no reason at all, simply because you misperceived or misunderstood their behavior? They didn't do anything wrong, but you just got angry, you see? And the answer should be a resounding yes, if you're a human being living on planet Earth. Okay, man. And if it's not a resounding yes, then you do have some very strong narcissistic or avoidant tendencies that you need to work through. Because the answer for every single person watching this video, or who will ever watch this video in the future, should be a resounding yes. And from there should be some kind of a release and forgiveness towards the other person, because now we realize that we all have the same parts: anger, sadness, happiness, depression, grief, misunderstandings, things that we're working on that we still didn't fix yet. We're looking for somebody to accept us, work through things together. We all have these parts. Okay. So, that's the first thing that you could do. So, ask yourself, what frustrated me? What triggered me about the other person? Now, the second question is, do I have this part too? Did this part got expressed through me or came out of me at some point in the past? Will it continue to come out in the future? Most likely, yes. Okay, maybe you don't have this crazy anger anymore because you did therapy for 10 effing years. It's YouTube, yeah. So, for 10 effing years, but are you immune to anger? And maybe you did fix your anger, but wait a second. You still have other things that you're working on, right? You're not perfect. Well, maybe they're working on something that you have outgrown. This is why you see yourself here and you see them here. But guess what? Dig deeper into yourself. You will realize that, okay, yeah, maybe you outgrown this, but maybe they are here when it comes to some other part of yourself. And you are here. You see? And now you're like, wait a second. Actually, that's true. Maybe I fixed this, but I can see that they have parts in them that they fixed in themselves that I still have to fix and outgrow. Now we're getting into deeper and deeper levels of understanding and forgiveness, and from here you're gonna release a lot of anger, lots of frustration. Okay. The first step is in self-development is to heal yourself. But then what I realized and what I'm trying to get at here, the point is you will notice that you develop this tendency to judge what you healed in yourself when you see it in other people. And the next phase of spiritual awakening, let's say, or psychological awakening, is to take what you have outgrown in yourself and start practicing forgiveness towards these parts when you see them in other people. So, that would be it for today, guys. Thanks so much for watching. It's Shadi from The Journey. And discuss in the comments, what do you think of what I'm saying, yeah? Did you experience this? Did you ever catch yourself judging other people in this way? please share the video if you think it's gonna help out the people close to you. And thanks so much for watching. Like the video, please, if you like my content, if you want the channel to grow so we could reach more people, we could educate more people, hopefully. And that would be it for today. What else? Yeah, you got the links for... You could find my website down below. You could find opportunity for one-on-one coaching if you need help. And that would be it for today. See you soon.